because just a short while ago, Trump said that the war is over after the historic Gaza peace deal was signed in Egypt. And he also said that rebuilding Gaza will not be that big of a problem because the biggest hurdle of reaching that ceasefire between Israel and Hamas has been reached. But of course, questions remain, a lot of sticking points on the day after in Gaza. How will Gaza be governed? And will Hamas disarm itself completely? To talk more on this, we have with us Melissa Awiz, Executive Editor, Jewish Insider. She's joining us live from Tel Aviv. I also have with us Dr. Wael Awad, international journalist. Thank you so much for being here with me on Newsnight. First up to you, Ms. Awiz. What's the mood like there in Tel Aviv after the remaining living 20 hostages being freed by Hamas who have now returned to Tel Aviv? What's the sentiment like?
The mood is jubilant. The mood is more excited, more hopeful, more happy than it has been for the last 2 years and several days. I spent the morning in Tel Aviv's Hostage Square, and the feeling there, the energy there was electric. People were very excited. People were excited to have the hostages home. They were excited to close this very painful chapter in Israeli history and move on to what comes next.
Right, Ms. Awiz, stay with me. I also have with us Dr. Awad. Dr. Awad, Ms. Awiz says that the mood there in Tel Aviv is jubilant, and Trump says that the biggest hurdle has been crossed. But your assessment, do you think that we are looking at lasting peace here in Gaza or just a pause?
Well, I think we need a long-standing peace and durable peace, not a forced peace. I mean, what President Trump have achieved, no doubt about it, that he put an end to the war, halting all the attack by Israel, the genocide which has been carrying out for the last 2 years on the Palestinian people. And having said that we lost more than 67,802 Palestinians, 158,000 are injured, and we have more than 2,700 families have been obliterated from the history. So all this because this war has been imposed on the Palestinians because of what Hamas did in the 7th of October. But at this moment, what President Trump is talking is he's talking of a long-standing peace. But does his plan really complete that there will be a two-state solution? If yes, then it is the most welcome step. But what worries us is that what will be next? I mean, will the Prime Minister of Israel agree on the two-state solution, or was his absence from this summit is a clear indication that Israel will go back to the war against the Palestinians?
Right, Dr. Awad. Ms. Awiz, I want to pose that question to you right now because while Trump was delivering his speech at the Knesset, we did see some demonstrators there. So do you think that the Knesset will perhaps be able to hold itself there because the majority of the right wing there in Israel were against the Gaza peace plan proposed by Trump?
I mean, I think there are a lot of variables that will go into the sustainability of any long-term agreement. And I think it's not based on solely what happens in Israel or solely what happens within the Palestinian government, whatever that government looks like. And I mean, I think that's going to be the next really big question as we move into phase 2 of this agreement and the negotiations over what the on-the-ground situation is going to look like, what the rebuilding efforts are going to look like, what governance is going to look like, what role other countries, Qatar, Turkey, Egypt, the 3 countries that just signed this document with President Donald Trump. And remember, we don't know what is in that document. The contents of that have not been made public yet. So there's just a lot of speculation as to what is in this agreement, what are the major contributors to the next phase of this agreement, what are they envisioning for the region.
Right, Dr. Awad, I want to take that question to you. How do you see the day after in Gaza at this point of time? Because Hamas had agreed to the initial phases of the ceasefire, after which we saw 20 living hostages being freed from the Gaza Strip to Israel. But there are still some sticking points that remain. For starters, the disarmament of Hamas. And second, how will Gaza Strip be governed?
Well, I think what the Palestinian wants, whether irrespective whether Hamas was in power, was democratically elected in Gaza Strip or not, what we are looking here, are we looking for a democratic Palestinian state If yes, then let the people of Palestine decide. You do not only impose peace on the Palestinian, you are also bringing a mandate from the British, with whom but the Tony Blair, the former Prime Minister of Britain, who is going to govern the place. Why the Palestinians are not in a position? When the Palestinians went to Oslo agreement with the Israeli in 1992, they signed it, and they have that was a 5-year interim period that there will be a viable Palestinian state. But none of the Israeli prime minister, unfortunately, including the current prime minister, was in a position or was keen on seeing this happening, because he torn even the Oslo agreement, threw it in the dustbin, and an activist of Prime Minister Netanyahu killed Ishaq Rabin, the former prime minister of Israel. So that show you the indication that those days 55% of the Israelis people were in favor of peace with the Arabs, with the Palestinians. But now with the current scenario, I don't see much of a glimpse of hope that more than maybe 10% of the, or 15% of the Israelis public opinion is in favor of having a Palestinian state. So therefore, I think what will happen to Netanyahu now, Raheja, that he will go for the right wing. He will succumb to the pressure of the right wing parties like Ben Gvir and also Smotrich, who will put more pressure on him to continue now the onslaught on the West Bank. Because now the second step is the West Bank, where Israel wanted to annex partially or completely, because now you can see the settlers are annexing land of the Palestinians, expelling them. There are more than 12,000 Palestinians inside the jail in West Bank. So if the story was on Gaza, then what's happening in the West Bank?
Right, but just a few days ago, Trump clearly said that it will not allow Israel to annex West Bank. We'll have to wait and see how this 20-point Gaza peace plan implements itself. What will be the day after in Gaza? But thank you so much, Ms. Wees and Dr. Abad, for joining us here on NDTV 24.